Hey, what's up everybody? Today I'm cleaning this Audi A3, which is in desperate need of some attention, so let's get started. This car lives most of its life outside, and from the looks of it, I think it might get parked under a tree pretty often, so every crack and crevice on this one is going to need attention. Alright, first things first, we're always going to start with a very thorough rinse of the vehicle to get any dirt off of the surface, out of any of the door jambs and cracks. And I'm also going to take this time just to inspect the overall condition of the vehicle to see what I'm going to be getting myself into for the rest of the detail. Alright, so I always like to start with the wheels first. Just in my head, I think once the wheels are clean, then you start cleaning the vehicle. You won't have to worry about splashing any dirt or grime or anything from the wheels onto a clean vehicle. Alright, next is going to be the engine bay, which I know for some people this can be an intimidating area of the vehicle to clean. But honestly, with most modern vehicles, as long as you're avoiding the sensitive areas like the fuse box, the battery, the alternator, any obvious wire connections, just be careful around those areas. And I keep the vehicle running. Just as long as you do that, you should be perfectly fine. I'm also going to take just my cleaner and a brush and do what I can, get anything out of all the cracks and just let the rinsing do the work. Also guys, I don't claim to be a professional at any of this. This is just the process that works for me, so. Alright, now I'm going to take some bug spray and coat the entire front end of the vehicle and let that sit for a minute or so. This just helps break down any bugs or dirt or grime or anything on the front of the vehicle to help make the cleaning process easier and less aggressive on the paint. This step isn't always necessary, but like I said before, this vehicle is exceptionally bad and covered in some bugs and guts on the front end. Alright, and here I'm going to start on the door jambs. I like to just take my pressure washer and carefully spray them out prior to cleaning. If you use the right angle and don't get super close with the wand, you don't really have to worry about getting any water in the interior, especially if you're going to be doing an interior detail. And then again, same as under the hood, I'll just take my general purpose cleaner and my brush, get what I can, and then let the rinsing do the work. Alright, now that we have the engine bay, the door jambs, and the wheels done, we can get started on the surface of the vehicle. Here I'm just coating the entire car in an iron remover or decontamination spray, which just helps break down any iron or metallic particles in the paint, which are those little orange dots that show up on white and silver vehicles. This car is a perfect example of how well this stuff works. You can see the car is covered in little purple streaks and dots. That's just the chemicals in the spray reacting with the iron particles in the paint. Alright, time to wash the vehicle. Here I'm just filling up my foam cannon with soap, which I'll use to coat the entire vehicle, which helps break down any remaining loose dirt or anything on the paint and helps lubricate the wash process. Here I'm just using my brush on any crack or crevice or seam around the entire vehicle to help loosen up any dirt. And nothing special here, just a good old sponge and bucket wash. Next up is wax and tar remover, which does exactly that. Just helps break down any leftover wax, compound, or road tar on the paint. And again, this is another one of those things that isn't always necessary, but on a car that's this dirty, it's definitely necessary. Alright, next up is the clay bar, which gives your paint that nice smooth feeling by removing any surface contaminants that may be left over, which is especially important if you plan on polishing or buffing the vehicle. And again, this is another one of those processes that isn't always necessary, but with a vehicle that's not maintained very well, it's definitely going to need it. Here I'm just gonna shine up the exhaust tips with some steel wool cleaner. Alright, and for the last step in the wash process, this is essentially just a spray-on coating which will coat any part of the vehicle that won't receive any polish or hand wax. Kind of like the window trim, the grille, maybe the headlights, anything like that, and it makes the vehicle much easier to dry. And here I'm just using a microfiber drying towel from Adams Polishes. And a nice surprise visit from Romeo today. Alright, moving on to the interior, which as you can see has not been cleaned very well in quite some time, so this is gonna need some work. Just start off by removing any obvious garbage, dirt and debris, and anything that looks important I'll just throw in a bag, and then I'll just take out all the floor mats. Alright, moving on to vacuuming. I like to be as thorough as possible with this step as it makes the rest of the interior go much faster and much easier. Now, along with the vacuum, I like to take a brush around the vehicle. Again, this makes the cleaning process much easier and faster and less of a mess. Alright, next up I'm going to be using what's called a tornador. I just call it a blaster. Essentially, it's a gun that mixes compressed air and whatever cleaning chemical you put in it. You can let the chemical come out with the air, or you can shut the chemical off and have just dry air. It's literally the best tool I've ever used, and if you're a detailer and you don't have this tool, you really need to get it. And moving on to the rubber floor mats. Again, nothing special, just some chemicals, some water, and some scrubbing. We'll throw them up on the mat hangers to dry. And as I was doing this, I realized these are A4 floor mats and an A3. Really didn't want to get this trunk mat completely soaking wet, but as I was vacuuming it, there were some little stains and spots I wasn't happy with, so I decided to bring it over and scrub it down and give it a good rinse, and that'll be it. Alright, and while those floor mats are drying, we'll move on to the seats. I'm just gonna apply some leather conditioner, which will re-moisturize the leather, prevent any cracking further down the line, and bring back some color. So remember to wipe this clean once it's sat on there for a minute or two, because leather is supposed to have a matte finish, not a shiny finish. All right, on to the windows. I like to start with the inside of the windshield with a fresh set of towels which prevents any risk of streaking or any marks on the inside of the window. Also, if you've made it this far in the video, thank you very much for watching. I love cleaning cars, and I've just recently gotten into video editing, and I'm really enjoying it. So if you guys are enjoying this, please let me know. Okay, back to the engine bay. Just gonna go and double check my work after all the dressing is dried. Alright, so the customer is actually going to be selling this vehicle. So he opted out of any polishing or any coatings or anything. So time for a quick coat of hand wax, and this vehicle is done. Alright, it's all finished up. Thank you guys again for watching, and I will see you next time.